This is Mac OS Ken.
Apple's big week of announcements begins, deciding about a laptop before seeing it, and Apple stores close in the UAE. It is Monday, the 2nd of March, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code MacOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. By the time these words reach you, there's a pretty good chance Apple's big 3-day week of announcements will be underway. Mac Rumors reminds the planet of Tim Cook's tease last Thursday. That's the one that had the CEO saying, "A big week ahead. It all starts Monday morning." Don't look now, but that's probably now. The expectation is 3 days of press releases, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Those seem likely to announce an update or updates to the iPad line, the introduction of the iPhone 17e, and updates to the Mac line. The Mac line is expected to get M5 Pro and M5 Max-powered MacBook Pros, as well as a new, low-cost laptop that sites are writing about like they've already seen it. A cheap MacBook is the perfect way for Apple to win over Windows users, says a headline from Engadget. At the same time, a headline from 9to5Mac asks whether Apple's upcoming low-cost MacBook will actually be worthwhile. That site's Zach Hall has a whole other piece on the low-cost laptop, saying he's most excited about Apple's affordable MacBook, with one concern. Remember when we used to wait to see a product before we decided about it? Yeah, neither do I. I'm snide because I tend to be, but Apple's anticipated low-cost laptop really does seem like the product most likely to move the needle. While Apple's quarterly earnings calls still list a sizable percentage of people buying Macs in a given quarter coming to the platform for the first time, people haven't paid a lot of attention to switchers and computing platforms since the days of the "I'm a Mac, I'm a PC" campaign. Personally, I think it could come down to a question of messaging. One way Apple's thought to be keeping the cost down is by having the machine run on an iPhone class A-series processor, rather than the customary M-series usually found in Apple's desktops and laptops. My slight concern: Apple competitors could advertise against the low-cost laptop by saying it's not just low cost, it's cheap, as in chintzy. That's a minor misgiving on my part, one that's sort of addressed by the Engadget piece I mentioned earlier. That piece says Apple's ham-fisted move to USB-C and the butterfly keyboard fiasco in the mid-2010s made it clear the company wasn't totally focused on Macs. But now, the piece says, Microsoft is distracted by AI. It's been pushing Copilot and AI features for years, instead of improving the Windows experience with more useful upgrades. And some of the Windows updates they have released over the last year have been disastrous, according to Engadget. I'll have to take their word for that, since I haven't touched a Windows PC since the summer of 2020. As for the other posts I mentioned, the 9to5Mac takes asking whether Apple's upcoming low-cost MacBook will actually be worthwhile, and Mr. Hall's one concern, they're both based on a number of compromises the Cupertino company is expected to make to bring the thing to market. Little point in dwelling on those for a couple of reasons. First, for most people taking in these words, the answer to will the machine be worthwhile would probably be a no. Thing to remember, though, this machine is probably not for you. And second, why worry over compromises we're not certain Apple has made? Why don't we wait and see? Or wait to hear from the people who get to? Mac rumor says select journalists and content creators, those people. Select journalists and content creators have been invited to Apple experiences in New York, London, and Shanghai midweek this week. One assumes they'll get to go hands-on with the new hardware and write about their time getting handsy. Those won't happen until Wednesday, the 4th of March at 9 a.m. Eastern, though we should have plenty of press releases to pour over in the meantime. Of course, we could also just go to an Apple store, maybe. Mac Rumors did a bit of regurmentation over the weekend. In his Power On newsletter, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman is said to have indicated that Apple's preparations for new products this week are on par with what happens before the debut of new iPhones in the fall. Makes sense, since there's a new iPhone anticipated, right? Actually, Gurman's money is on the low-cost laptop being the big deal, calling the device an incredible value, at least as far as Apple pricing goes. Gurman says the company expects the machine will help drive a serious number of switchers from Windows machines and Chromebooks. I will say I love my 2024 15-inch M3 MacBook Air, and I really can't wait to see this week's low-cost laptop, assuming it happens. And wouldn't it be funny if it didn't? More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. Nord is a name you have known for years, thanks to their VPN for consumers. With NordLayer, they brought that and a whole lot more to small and mid-sized businesses like yours. Built specifically for business, NordLayer does do the VPN thing, as well as access control, making sure people who shouldn't get into your systems do not, and threat protection, making sure dangers that should never reach your people do not. All of that in one easy-to-use platform with no huge setup and no new hardware. They've recently partnered with CrowdStrike to bring Falcon endpoint protection to small and mid-sized businesses. That is enterprise-grade security made simple for businesses with a few seats to 100 seats or more. They've got special pricing for those bigger teams and an exclusive offer for you. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Apple stores and offices are closed in the UAE. No, it's not to make way for new products. It is war. A piece from Mac Rumors on Sunday had the Cupertino company closing all 5 of its retail stores in the UAE, while a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says Apple offices in the region are closed as well. Mac Rumors says the store closures align with the Emirati government recommending that companies in the private sector take measures to avoid the presence of workers in open spaces, if and where possible, from Sunday, the 1st of March, until Tuesday, the 3rd. The piece says the closures come amid escalating conflict in the Middle East, following recent U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. Actually, recent and ongoing might be a better way to put that. So before the attacks on Iran Friday night, the weekend's biggest recent fight picked by the Trump administration was between it and the AI firm Anthropic. 9 to 5 Mac had both President Trump and Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth sounding off against the company. Don't worry, there is an Apple angle to all of this. First, let us follow Hegseth to the Heil site, where he's said to have posted, In conjunction with the President's directive for the federal government to cease all use of Anthropic's technology, I am directing the Department of War to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security. Effective immediately, no contractor, supplier, or partner that does business with the U.S. military may conduct any commercial activity with Anthropic. Anthropic will continue to provide the Department of War its services for a period of no more than 6 months to allow for a seamless transition to a better and more patriotic service. For its part, Anthropic seems to think it is being patriotic. According to the firm, its falling out with the administration is over 2 issues. First, they say, we do not believe that today's frontier AI models are reliable enough to be used in fully autonomous weapons. Allowing current models to be used in this way would endanger America's warfighters and civilians. Second, they continue, we believe that mass domestic surveillance of Americans constitutes a violation of fundamental rights. So Anthropic doesn't want Claude powering fully autonomous weapons, and they don't want to be part of mass domestic surveillance of Americans. Kind of feel like our bar for patriotic is moved in some weird ways. I know, I said there was an Apple angle to all of this. According to 9to5Mac, Claude was number 42 on the App Store's top downloaded charts here in the States a couple of months ago. It is now number 1, ahead of second place ChatGPT and third place Google Gemini. That's not thanks to a new feature or capability, according to the report. Instead, 9to5Mac says the week-long saga between Anthropic and the U.S. government seems to have thrust Claude to the top of the App Store. And finally today, Apple Music, coming to a candy aisle near you. Mac Rumors has word of a totally sweet promotional deal between Cupertino's music streamer and German candy maker Ritter Sport. Called Limited Edition Ritter Sport times Apple Music. The piece says the tie-up involved promoting iconic albums on Ritter Sport's iconic 100-gram square chocolate bars. There'll be a QR code on the back of each bar that links directly to the album on Apple Music and provides a free trial subscription to the service. I guess, though, I should have said a candy aisle near you if you're anywhere near Germany. I got Ritter Sport at my local grocery store, and yet the promo is limited to the Bundesrepublik. If you happen to be in the Knoxboshof, though, the bars of music should start playing on store shelves today. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macosken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macosken at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.